The galaxy had always watched Earth with curiosity and, sometimes, amusement. To most galactic powers, humans were insignificant, a small blue planet, with primitive technology, untested fleets, and no real influence beyond their solar system. They were, by most standards, an easy target, or so everyone thought. On the bridge of the flagship Zereth Prime, Admiral Calix stared at the star charts, a frown creasing his scaled forehead. "There's something off," he muttered. His voice carried the weight of centuries of experience, and every officer in the room leaned closer. The sensors had picked up faint human activity in the solar system. Nothing large, nothing threatening, just routine satellite launches and occasional communication bursts. But patterns were emerging, patterns that didn't make sense to anyone watching. Calix's eyes scanned the reports, his instincts screaming that something unusual was unfolding. "Sir," said Lieutenant Vorik, a sharp-eyed technician, "human fleets are moving, not in a pattern we recognize. They seem to be coordinating something." Calix's tail twitched. "Show me the coordinates." As the data scrolled across the main screen, Calix's sharp claws tapped impatiently. The humans were not just building ships. They were organizing them in a way that suggested strategy, planning, and, most worrying of all, intelligence far beyond what their species should have achieved. "Alert the High Council," Calix said, his voice low but urgent. "Prepare our surveillance fleets. Something is about to happen in the Sol system." Meanwhile, back on Earth, life continued almost normally. Cities bustled. People went about their lives, and children played under the sun. Yet, in hidden military bases and spaceports, humans were quietly preparing. Engineers adjusted propulsion systems. Pilots trained with relentless focus, and scientists monitored the galaxy with calm determination. No panic, no alarms. Just preparation. General Elena Voss, commander of the newly formed Earth Vanguard, stood on the observation deck of the orbital station Sentinel-1. She gazed at the vast expanse of space, her eyes scanning for any sign of trouble. "They think we are weak," she said softly to her aide, Captain Rayner. "They have no idea." Rayner nodded. "Do you really think we are ready?" Elena smiled faintly. "We have to be. Sometimes, readiness isn't about power. It's about timing, and the time is coming." Across the galaxy, messages flew between alien empires. The Centauri Union, the Zelvian Syndicate, and the Triumvirate of Elders all monitored Sol system activity with growing concern. Rumors spread among council halls. Humans are planning something unusual, something bold. No one knew exactly what the humans were planning. Some dismissed it as coincidence, others as overcautiousness. But a few, like Admiral Calix, sensed a warning they could not ignore. Back on Earth, humans continued their preparations with almost serene focus. They didn't broadcast warnings or threaten anyone. They didn't need to. Their strength lay in quiet confidence, a sharp contrast to the fear and chaos that gripped the alien powers. Then, the first sign of the turning point appeared. A small fleet of human ships exited the Sol system's outer orbit. They weren't large, just a handful of nimble vessels, but their movements were precise, coordinated, and silent. Advanced cloaking systems ensured that only the most sensitive alien sensors could detect them. The fleet wasn't attacking. Not yet. They were positioning themselves, waiting for the exact moment to act. In the observation room of the Zelvian Syndicate's flagship, Commander Theric narrowed his eyes at the incoming reports. "Humans," he muttered. "I don't understand. They should be weak. They should be scared. And yet," his clawed hands gripped the console, "they are calm. Too calm." The calmness was unsettling. Alien leaders were used to fear. Fear drove planning. Fear drove caution. And fear drove predictable behavior. Humans had none of it. Meanwhile, on Sentinel-1, General Elena Voss walked along the main deck, watching her officers prepare. She paused by the tactical map and tapped it lightly. "Everything is ready," she said. "We have studied every possible move they might make, and we are ready for it. No one expects humans to strike, but we always do when necessary." Her words were quiet, but they carried a confidence that seemed to ripple through the station. It was a calm before the storm, and in the shadows of the galaxy, the storm had begun to form. Alien fleets moved in response to the humans' subtle maneuvers. Sensors were recalibrated, communication grids were strengthened, and warships were put on high alert. Every major power wondered, what was Earth planning? Then, an incident triggered the first real shock. A triumvirate of Elders' reconnaissance ship drifted too close to the human fleet's position. Within minutes, it lost all contact. Alarms blared across the Elders' council chamber. What happened? Demanded Elder Monash. Why did the ship go silent? The answer was simple and terrifying. Humans had disabled it without firing a shot. Advanced electronic warfare systems scrambled communications, sensors, and propulsion. The ship drifted helplessly, completely under human control, while its crew frantically tried to regain control. Across the galaxy, news of the incident spread like wildfire. Humans are attacking? One Centauri officer shouted. No! Another corrected, trembling. They aren't attacking. They are controlling. The alien empires realized they had underestimated humans. They had assumed Earth was primitive, slow, and predictable. They had assumed fear would govern every move. But humans acted with precision, strategy, and a calm confidence that no one had ever seen. On Earth, General Voss received reports from her fleet. The first test was successful, she said to Captain Rayner. They think they can ignore us. Let them continue. Let them watch. They will see what happens when humans decide to take control. Rayner's eyes widened. Do you think they'll retaliate? Elena shook her head. They may try, but they won't understand us. Not yet. The unexpected turning point was not a full-scale war. It was a demonstration, a warning. The humans had shown the galaxy that they were not helpless, that they were not to be dismissed, and that they could act with efficiency, intelligence, and control that no alien species had ever expected. By the end of the first day, the reaction across the galaxy was chaos. Fleet commanders argued, diplomats panicked, and spies scrambled to understand what humans were capable of. Every major power was on high alert. Back on Sentinel-1, Elena stood alone on the observation deck. Looking at Earth below, the planet seemed peaceful, almost ordinary, but the galaxy had begun to see it differently. Humans had spoken without words. Fine, we'll handle it. And now, the galaxy was listening. But as the humans had quietly demonstrated their power, none of them realized that this was only the beginning. Other forces were watching. Other eyes were observing. And the first real challenge, the one that could truly test humanity's resolve, was still waiting in the darkness of space. The first part of the turning point had been made. The galaxy was awake. The humans were ready. And when the next move came, no one would see it coming. The galaxy had never known a quiet storm. For eons, empires rose and fell, wars erupted in fiery bursts, and leaders made decisions driven by fear, pride, and ambition. But the humans, they were different, calm, precise, and utterly unpredictable. Admiral Calix paced his bridge, claws tapping against the metallic floor. We have watched them for weeks, he said, voice low and tense. And they continue to act, normally, yet their fleet maneuvers, their technology, it defies all logic. Every calculation points to the impossible. Lieutenant Vorak looked uneasy. Sir, every empire is observing them now. The Centauri, the Triumvirate, even the Syndicate fleets. There's talk of coordinated strikes if humans make a single aggressive move. Calix stopped pacing. His scaled face hardened. And what if humans act first? What then? Meanwhile, on Earth, General Elena Voss stood in the command center of the orbital station Sentinel-1, surrounded by officers, maps, and glowing screens. Every move humans made was deliberate, every step calculated. Nothing was left to chance. Captain Rayner, her trusted aide, leaned close. Do you really think the galaxy is watching? I mean all of them. Elena's calm eyes did not waver. Yes, and they're terrified. The more they watch, the more they panic. That fear, it works in our favor. Humans did not make grand gestures. They didn't send threats or demands. They let the galaxy wonder what was happening. And that uncertainty, more than weapons or fleets, sent shivers across alien empires. On the Centauri Union's flagship Vortexus, Supreme Commander Ledhar slammed his fist against a control panel. I do not understand them. A species so small, so young, and yet they act with the precision of a 1,000-year-old empire. His officers exchanged worried glances. The humans weren't moving recklessly. They weren't trying to conquer or destroy yet. But every minor maneuver hinted at intelligence, strategy, and capability beyond what the galaxy had seen in millennia. One intelligence officer, a young Centauri named Pharos, studied the reports in silence. Sir, it is more than that. They are learning. Every move we make, they adjust, they anticipate. Every action we take seems expected by them. Lether's scales bristled. Anticipated? Impossible. They are primitive. Pharos shook his head. Perhaps we underestimated them. Perhaps they are not primitive at all. Across another sector, in the triumvirate of elders, panic simmered in quiet council chambers. Elder Monash frowned at the projections of human fleet movements. They are calm, patient, almost arrogant. Yet each ship, each maneuver, seems to cripple our understanding of their capabilities. We do not know what they can do, and that uncertainty terrifies me more than any weapon. Meanwhile, back on Sentinel-1, human fleets continued their silent preparations. Ships moved in perfect coordination, unseen by most sensors. Engineers made adjustments to propulsion systems, communication arrays, and defense shields. Every ship, every pilot, every crew member knew their role. No confusion, no hesitation. In the control room, Elena tapped her fingers on the glass of display, showing the positions of alien fleets. They are watching us, she said softly, and every observation makes them weaker. Curiosity is their fear. They cannot act without knowing what we might do next, and we will make them wait. The first real test came unexpectedly. A Zelvian reconnaissance probe drifted near Earth's outer orbit. It sent routine scans, as it always did, scanning for technological growth, fleet movements, and energy signatures. But this time, the humans noticed, not with alarms or attacks, but with precision. Human operators subtly interfered with the probe systems. Sensors became scrambled, energy readings fluctuated wildly, and for a moment, the probe's AI failed to make sense of what it was detecting. On the probe's command interface, the AI reported an anomaly, signals inconsistent, fleet patterns unpredictable, humans controlling the environment. Back on the Zelvian flagship, Commander Theric watched the live feed in horror. Impossible, he shouted. They are manipulating our probe. Without weapons. Without combat. The humans' comm efficiency spread panic. Alien empires began moving fleets closer to the Sol system, not to attack, but to observe, to understand. Spies were dispatched. Diplomats sent encrypted messages. Analysts worked around the clock. And still, no one could fully grasp human capabilities. Captain Rayner looked at Elena. You think they'll ever understand us? She smiled faintly. Not yet. They are learning. That will take time and mistakes. And by the time they understand, it may already be too late. The humans' next move was subtle, but impactful. Small teams infiltrated communications networks across multiple alien satellites. No explosions. No alarms. Just silence and a perfect blackout in areas critical to galactic navigation and communication. When the alien fleets realized what had happened, chaos erupted. Orders were delayed. Commands conflicted. A minor miscalculation caused one Zelvian fleet to turn sharply, nearly colliding with a Centauri cruiser. Supreme Commander Lether's scales darkened with anger. This is no accident. They are testing us. They are learning us. And they're doing it without firing a single shot. The galaxy began to murmur. Diplomats whispered in council chambers. Fleet admirals shouted in bridges. And spies reported anomalies in every major empire. Humans were no longer an ignored species. Humans were a puzzle that could not be solved by force, by fear, or by manipulation. On Earth, Elena received updates in real time. Each reaction confirms our strategy, she said. They panic, they scramble, they overthink. And we do nothing more than observe. The galaxy is watching itself unravel. And we are ready for what comes next. Yet, even as humans observed the chaos they had sown without combat, a shadow moved in the darkness. Far beyond the Centauri, the Zelvian, and even the triumvirate borders, unknown observers watched. They had not yet interfered, but their eyes were wide open. On a distant, cloaked vessel, an alien commander whispered his aide. Interesting. They are active, and yet we see nothing. Earth has become dangerous. Meanwhile, back on Sentinel-1, General Elena Voss watched the galaxy's reaction on her large display screens. She knew the humans had made their presence known, yet not a single life had been risked unnecessarily. Their philosophy was simple: demonstrate capability, cause uncertainty, and prepare for the moment of truth. Captain Rayner, still uneasy, asked, "You think anyone can stop them if it comes to war?" Elena's eyes narrowed. No one can stop them if the humans decide it is time to act. But that time hasn't come yet, and we will not act recklessly. We wait, and when we strike, we do so with purpose. The turning point had passed. Humans were no longer a quiet, ignored species. They were a force the galaxy had to watch. Every empire, every fleet, every intelligence network was now on high alert. They analyzed, they anticipated, they worried. And in their calm, silent preparation, humans had shown something far more powerful than weapons or fleets. They had shown strategy, patience, and intelligence that no empire could match. The galaxy trembled quietly, realizing that Earth was no longer just a small blue planet. It was a center of potential chaos, and humans were the calm eye of that storm. As the fleets repositioned, probes scrambled, and communication networks buzzed with confusion, one thought became clear across the galaxy: humans were no longer predictable. And the next move, whatever it would change everything. And somewhere, deep in the darkness of space, watchers beyond the known empires prepared. They had noticed the humans. They had seen the efficiency, the patience, and the subtle power, and they began to plan their own observation, and perhaps their own response. The galaxy had begun to watch Earth, but Earth was already watching the galaxy. The galaxy was tense. Every major power had its eyes on Earth, and every fleet was on alert. For weeks, humans had stayed quiet, letting the aliens panic and scramble. They had watched the chaos unfold, studied every reaction, and learned how each empire thought, calculated, and feared. But now, the waiting was over. The humans were ready to act. On the orbital station Sentinel-1, General Elena Voss stood in the central command room, her calm presence commanding attention. Around her, officers monitored alien fleet movements, sensor readings, and fleet positions. The humans had not yet fired a single shot, yet they had already disrupted fleets, scrambled communication networks, and disabled reconnaissance probes. Elena turned to Captain Rayner. "Today we make the first move, but it will not be obvious. We strike with intelligence, not brute force." Rayner's brow furrowed. "You mean we attack them without them realizing it?" Elena nodded. "Exactly. They think we are observing. They think we are cautious. But they do not know what humans can do. They will soon learn." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, alien admirals argued in their command centers. Fleet movements were slow, uncertain. Some wanted to strike first. Others wanted to wait. The human silent confidence had created confusion, fear disguised as hesitation. In the Sol system's outer orbit, a human fleet maneuvered into position. Not large, just a handful of agile vessels, but each one carried advanced stealth technology, electronic warfare systems, and precise targeting equipment. These ships were not meant to fight in open battle. They were designed to strike, confuse, and disappear. Lieutenant Mara, aboard the Sentinel Vanguard, watched the alien fleet through her sensors. "Commander, Zelvian cruisers are repositioning near the Oort cloud. They are expecting us to react, but we're not. They don't know we're already here." Elena's voice was calm, almost whispering, but firm. "Good. Let them watch. Every move they make, every decision they scramble to make, is part of our advantage." The first strike was subtle. Human ships targeted alien sensor satellites and communication arrays with precision EMP bursts. No explosions. No shots fired. Just instantaneous blackouts. Across the galaxy, alien commanders screamed into comm links. Sensors down. Communications offline. What is happening? But by the time anyone could react, the humans had moved again. They had infiltrated navigation networks, redirecting minor asteroid belts and debris fields to interfere with alien fleet paths. Zelvian ships collided with Centauri reconnaissance drones. Triumvirate scout vessels had to retreat to avoid sudden interference fields. Chaos spread like wildfire, but humans remained calm, observing, adjusting, waiting. On Sentinel-1, Elena tapped her fingers against a glass display. They think this is random, natural chaos. But it is not. Every reaction, every misstep, is exactly what we expected. And they don't even know we are controlling it. Captain Rayner shook his head in awe. It's brilliant, terrifying. Elena smiled faintly. It is simply strategy. And strategy is human strength. But even as humans demonstrated their dominance, they faced their first real challenge. A massive alien superweapon, the Vordaray, activated near the edge of the Centauri Union's territory. It was a weapon designed to annihilate entire fleets in a single strike, a deterrent so powerful that few dared challenge it. Its sensors locked onto the outer solar system, scanning for threats, waiting for a target. Admiral Calyx noticed the anomaly. It's too fast, he said. It is targeting the humans' fleet. If they fire, it could destroy everything. Across the command consoles of Earth's fleet, alarms blinked briefly. But Elena's calm remained unshaken. She addressed the fleet over secure comm. Prepare for interception. Execute protocol shadow. Every vessel to position Alpha. Focus on disruption and evasion. Do not fire unless necessary. Human ships moved like shadows. Agile, coordinated, precise. They did not rush forward. They did not panic. Instead, they used advanced cloaking systems and electronic interference to confuse the superweapon sensors. Streams of false targets, energy echoes, and misleading signals filled the array's targeting systems. On the Centauri flagship, Lethar watched helplessly. Impossible, he shouted. The humans they are manipulating the array without touching it. How? They didn't know humans had anticipated this move weeks in advance. They had studied every known superweapon in the galaxy, every defense system, and every sensor anomaly, and they had prepared a response that made the impossible possible. The array fired, but the energy beams missed their real targets. They struck empty space, harmless debris, and nothing vital. The humans had turned the weapon against itself, without ever touching it. Elena's calm voice echoed in the fleet. Well done. That was only the first wave. Now we escalate. The humans' next move was direct. They targeted alien fleets, not with brute force, but with cunning. Small strike teams infiltrated fleets through gaps in sensors and defense grids. Ships were disabled without destruction. Engines jammed, weapons went offline, and crews were disoriented. Entire squadrons were rendered useless without a single human casualty. Across the galaxy, alien commanders panicked. How are they doing this? Shouted Commander Therek. It is impossible. Even the Triumvirate elders admitted confusion. We have never seen strategy like this, Elder Monash said. A species so young, so small, yet capable of this level of precision? On Sentinel-1, Elena observed every move. They are learning. Every fleet we disrupt is teaching them what humans can do. They are afraid now, and that fear will spread. But humans were not finished. They knew that observation alone would not be enough. They needed to make the galaxy understand that Earth was no longer defenseless. Small human vessels moved into position near major alien trade routes. Communication jammers, stealth drones, and electronic interference created confusion across supply lines. Fleets were forced to retreat to protect their logistics. The galaxy began to realize that humans could control the flow of war without firing traditional weapons. Captain Rayner's eyes were wide. It's like they're invisible ghosts. And yet, every move counts. Elena nodded. That is how humans win. By thinking, not by brute force. By controlling the battlefield without touching it. By making the enemy overreact to shadows. The humans' dominance reached its peak when they coordinated a silent blockade of a Centauri resource hub. Alien fleets tried to respond but could not locate the humans. Supplies were rerouted, shipments delayed, and the Centauri Union's economy began to strain, all before anyone realized the humans were responsible. In the shadows of the galaxy, other observers took note. Unknown forces, hidden beyond detection, realized that humans were not only clever but dangerous beyond imagination. They had patience, intelligence, and the ability to turn fear into chaos without ever engaging directly. Back on Sentinel-1, Elena looked at the reports. The first move is complete. The galaxy now knows they cannot ignore us. And yet, they still think we are cautious. That will make the next move even more effective. Raynor swallowed hard. Do you think they'll strike back? Elena's eyes were cold, calm, and focused. Perhaps, but they do not understand humans yet. And by the time they do, it will be too late. The first direct wave of action was over. Alien fleets were confused, supply lines disrupted, and communication scrambled. Humans had shown that they could control chaos, manipulate fleets, and dominate without traditional combat. And yet, even in this moment of triumph, one thought lingered. The galaxy is larger than they imagined, and eyes beyond known empires are watching. The first move had been a success. Humans had demonstrated strategy, patience, and intelligence in ways that no species had expected. But the galaxy was far from defeated. More challenges, more eyes, more surprises awaited. The humans were ready. The galaxy was unsettled. And when the next wave came, no one would see it coming. Not even the unknown watchers lurking in the void. The galaxy had never seen fear so quietly, yet so completely. Alien fleets scrambled. Sensors scrambled. Communication grids collapsed. And even the most powerful empires were left unsure what humans were capable of. The first move, executed without a single shot, had shaken them. But the humans were far from finished. On the orbital station Sentinel-1, General Elena Voss stood in the central command room. Her gaze fixed on the glowing map of the Sol system and the surrounding galaxy. The humans had learned everything about the alien fleets, their strengths, their weaknesses, their habits, and their tendencies. Now, it was time to make the galaxy understand who humans truly were. Captain Raynor approached cautiously. General, reports from the Centauri Union and the Zelvian Syndicate. They're talking about a counterattack. Fleets are moving to engage us. Should we prepare defenses? Elena's calm smile did not waver. No, Raynor. Let them come. Every move they make will only show them how unprepared they are for the humans. Our strength is not in fighting. It is in thinking. And they cannot think like us. In the distant void of space, alien fleets move with precision born of fear. The triumvirate of elders deployed their largest warships, energy weapons glowing, shields bristling with power. The Centauri Union sent squadrons of fast cruisers, attempting to encircle the Sol system, and the Zelvian Syndicate scrambled stealth vessels, hoping to strike first. Yet, none of them truly understood the humans' plan. Humans did not intend to fight in the conventional sense. They intended to control the battlefield, disrupt the enemy, and dominate without a single full-scale engagement. The first real human strike came in the form of disruption. Fleets moving toward Earth suddenly found their navigation system scrambled. Energy pulses, cloaked interference, and electronic feedback loops caused ships to turn sharply, collide with debris fields, or drift helplessly. Entire squadrons were incapacitated before they could fire a weapon. Admiral Calix, observing from the Centauri Union's flagship, slammed his claws against the console. Impossible. How can they manipulate entire fleets without even engaging? This is beyond technology. We have never seen anything like it. He was not alone in his disbelief. Across the galaxy, alien admirals and commanders scrambled to understand a phenomenon. Communication networks had been hacked. Supply routes disrupted. Navigation systems controlled by human interference. And yet, humans remain invisible, calm, and untouchable. On Sentinel-1, Elena addressed her fleet. Now we escalate. Engage Protocol Iron Shadow. Target key command ships. Maintain stealth. Disrupt, do not destroy. Every empire will see what happens when humans decide to act. Small human strike teams moved into position near the leading fleets. With precise electronic interference, they disabled weapon systems, scrambled sensors, and caused chaos within alien ranks. Alien captains shouted orders, but their ships failed to respond. Chaos spread, not through combat, but through human strategy and control. Captain Raynor watched, awestruck. It's genius. They don't even fight directly. They are controlling everything from the shadows. Elena nodded. That is how humans win. Not with raw power, but with intelligence, patience, and precision. Then came the final demonstration. Humans had identified the most powerful weapon in the galaxy. the Zelvian supernova cannon, capable of annihilating fleets with a single energy blast. Its activation had caused panic among the alien ranks. But humans did not fear it. They outthought it, using advanced algorithms and calculated interference. Human ships redirected the cannon's energy. It backfired, destroying nothing of value, while alien ships within its range were thrown into disarray. Crew members panicked, shields failed, and fleets scattered in confusion. In the Centauri Union Council Hall, Supreme Commander Lethar slumped back in his chair, stunned. They controlled our superweapon, without even touching it. This is impossible. Elder Monash of the Triumvirate whispered to his aides, "We underestimated them. We believed Earth was small, weak, and unprepared. We were wrong. They are dangerous beyond comprehension." Back on Earth, Elena surveyed the reports. Every empire was shaken, every fleet disoriented, and every alien power realizing a terrifying truth. Humans were not only clever, they were unstoppable when they chose to be. Yet, humans did not celebrate. They did not broadcast triumph. They remained calm, silent, observing the chaos they had orchestrated. Each move, each disruption, each silent strike reinforced the same message: do not underestimate humans. The first phase of the shock had been complete. Alien fleets were in disarray. Communications were scrambled, supply lines disrupted. Strategic command had been undermined, but humans had more to show. Small teams infiltrated alien ships to gather intelligence. They captured data, disabled engines, and returned without firing a single shot. Entire fleets were neutralized, yet the humans remained invisible, their presence unknown except for the effects of their actions. Across the galaxy, whispers grew. Earth is not defenseless. Earth is dominant. We misjudge them. How can a species so young act with such precision? Even unknown watchers in the far reaches of space took note. Hidden fleets beyond the Triumvirate and Centauri borders observed the humans' every move. They saw strategy, intelligence, and calm efficiency, and they began to question the balance of power in the galaxy. On Sentinel-1, Elena's gaze softened. The galaxy has learned a lesson today. Humans are not weak. Humans are not to be feared because of their size or technology alone. Humans are to be respected because of their mind, their will, and their strategy. Raynor spoke quietly, almost in awe. Do you think they'll strike back now? Elena shook her head. They may try, but the lesson has been delivered. Humans have demonstrated capability, intelligence, and control that is more powerful than any weapon. And when humans decide to fight directly, the galaxy will never forget it. The aftermath was immediate. Alien fleets retreated to regroup. Diplomats scrambled to negotiate. Scientists and engineers across multiple species studied the mysterious disruptions, tried to reverse engineer what humans had done. But every attempt failed. Humans had stayed hidden, silent, yet overwhelmingly effective. The first true battle had ended, not with destruction, but with psychological dominance. Humans had shown that the galaxy could not predict them, could not control them, and could not defeat them through conventional means. And yet, as humans celebrated their silent victories quietly aboard Sentinel-1, a new realization emerged. Other forces beyond known space were observing. Unknown, ancient, and powerful, these watchers had noted the human skill. Their eyes followed, waiting, calculating, and perhaps preparing for the day when humanity would face a challenge even greater than the galaxy's known empires. But for now, Earth stood victorious in the shadows. Not by fire, not by brute strength, but by strategy, patience, and intelligence. The galaxy had been shocked. Alien powers had been humbled, and humanity had made its mark. Elena stood on the observation deck, staring at the blue planet below. Calm, serene, yet full of purpose. She whispered to Raynor, "We've shown them what happens when humans say, 'Fine, I'll handle it.' The galaxy has learned its lesson. And yet, this is only the beginning." Raynor nodded, understanding the weight of her words. The galaxy had been shaken. Humans had demonstrated their power, and the unknown challenges waiting beyond the stars were aware now. They could no longer ignore humanity. The galactic shock was complete, and the story of humans, the underestimated species that had quietly become the center of the galaxy's attention, was far from over. The calm blue planet below remained silent. But every star in the galaxy now knew one truth. Never underestimate humans.